Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Bare and Brutal podcast, the podcast where we bare our feelings and are brutally honest while highlighting stories of resilience and transforming pain into power. I'm your host, Michelle, and today we have an inspiring and dynamic guest who has taken the internet by storm with her unique approach to financial literacy and content creation. She markets herself as a hardworking, lazy girl in her 20s, dedicated to sharing her journey towards financial independence. From get-rich-quick schemes to working multiple jobs, she has navigated her relationship with money and turned her experiences into valuable lessons for her audience. So she now uses her platform to educate and entertain, helping others by documenting her own personal, candid journey and sharing the message that you don't have to be super put together to be successful. So please join me in welcoming Jane to the show. Thanks for joining us, Jane.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe you said taking the internet by storm because I definitely would not say I'm doing that. But I love it. I appreciate it.
I know. I saw your face when I was reading that. I was like, girl, you are though. I mean,
No,
you
girl.
went pretty viral a couple of times.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We're
No, we'll talk
manifesting
about
it,
that.
you
But
know?
yes,
It'll
manifesting it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it'll happen. So, well, thank you for coming on here. I saw your account. I think I follow a mutual financial girl also who's in her
Yes, you
20s.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yours just came on my feed. And I think I saw the one where you're actually crying because you were
Oh my
burnt
God.
out. Yeah.
No, not
You
that being
were,
the first one you saw.
yeah. You were
Oh shit.
burnt out from your jobs. And I was like, relatable. Let me follow this girl. And I
Mm-hmm.
literally just cold messaged you and I was like, I don't even know if she's going to reply, but I would love to have you on the show. And you did. So I'm really happy
Yeah.
that you came on here.
Yeah, I'm really happy. Thank you so much for having me. And that video was actually quite recent. It's all in real time. Like I'm definitely still very much going through that. So
Oh, man.
yeah.
Well, I would love it if you could just introduce yourself and share a bit about your background, what inspired you to just start this journey as a content creator.
hmm Yeah, for sure. So I'm Jane. I'm 24. I live in the Greater Toronto area with my parents. Some people hate to hear that, but yes, I do. I pretty much just started content creation just a couple months ago, so it's all very new to me. Like I definitely would not call myself an expert. I wouldn't call myself even like a content creator. Definitely not taking the internet by storm. But my content mostly centers around personal finance, career, and lifestyle. So I talk a lot about how I have two full-time jobs and what inspired me to start that type of content and this type of account is a couple things. So the first thing is I've always been a bit of a yapper. So I mean, you probably get it being a podcast girly, but definitely just love to talk and love to put myself out there. I've always been doing that, just not in this type of kind of structured format.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always really been interested in personal finance. So it just made sense that I would connect those two and post about personal finance. I guess I do want to be honest also, is like I definitely would love to one day start, making money off of content creation. I don't know if people are allowed to say that because I feel like I know people are just, there's like a very kind of thing where you have to just be very authentic and you do it for the art and the passion, in which I love talking, I love creating content, but
But we
I'd be
also
lying if I
want
said that.
money.
Period.
We
Yeah,
want
exactly.
money.
Like we do. Yeah. I mean, it takes a lot of time to, going into these videos and this content. So I definitely would not be putting in that much time if there was no prospect of, hopefully one day being able to make a little bit of a side income from that. So yeah.
Yeah.
That is definitely a
So
big driver
I
for
know
sure.
that your big thing, you describe yourself as the hardworking, lazy girl. Can you please explain for the audience what that means to you and how it shapes like your overall approach to work and life?
Yeah, for sure. I think it definitely stemmed from work, but I can see how it applies to all areas of my life. Essentially, hardworking lazy girl is something that I've always kind of seen myself as. Um, to me, what it means, and I've seen a lot of other creators kind of having terms and concepts similar to hardworking lazy girl, but just kind of phrased in different ways. To me,
Mm-hmm.
what hardworking lazy girl means just on the surface, you do what a hardworking person does, and it seems like you are that kind of person. But deep down, I think a lot of the motivations or kind of like the habits that you have are not necessarily as like hardworking as a person that is hardworking would come off. So, for example, like I'll work multiple jobs, but I'm going to be doing it in my pajamas in my bed. I'm going to be taking naps during lunch, you know, or I'm, you know, progressing in my career, but I know I've always been a bit of a slacker and a procrastinator. So I feel like another big thing for me, in addition to just like the kind of hardworking laziness aspect, is also kind of like the goals that go behind why you do certain things. So I know we talked a little bit about this already, but just working really hard, I feel like a lot of the times the motivations can be like, you want to be very career oriented, you want to be very passionate about your career, but the reason I personally do what I do is not out of a reason of just wanting to be very ambitious or climbing the corporate ladder. It's because I hate my job so much that I'm like, I need to retire ASAP. I need to get out of here. I need to hit my retirement goals and quit my job. So, yeah.
That's actually so real though, because I talk with my friends all the time and we're like, work is ghetto. Like, we don't want to do this anymore. Like, whoever, like, this whole corporate girly thing is so
Invented,
glamorized. Like,
right?
I don't want to do it. I don't want to work anymore. So,
No, that's literally so true.
yeah.
Yeah, I see that a lot with like kind of the corporate, kind of whole corporate grind thing. And like you see like C-suite level, your leaders and stuff, and you kind of think, do I have to be as passionate about work to get to that level? And what is our like desire, or like why is it so normalized to try to push everyone towards reaching those goals, when in reality most people are very happy just kind of being comfortable where they are?
Yeah. So I know that a lot of your content and the mission behind your page is also to show people, you know, that you can be financially literate and just be a regular, normal person, 24-year-old who isn't an expert, but you're learning as you go, right? So can you tell about, how you became financially literate and the steps that you took to educate yourself about money and investing?
Yeah, for sure. I think I am pretty lucky in that my parents already are quite financially literate. So that's definitely where I got my foundation from. Like, I
Yeah.
actually feel like I'm very much average for a financially literate person. Like, I feel like I'm average to below average, whereas people that I know, like my dad, my brother, they're very smart. They actually know like the theories behind like economics and stuff like that, which
Okay.
I absolutely cannot relate to. And I think that is kind of what my whole approach is just like trying to show that in order to succeed, you don't need to know all that stuff. You kind of just need the bare minimum. And it's just like how to set up an account. Here's what to invest in. And then you're kind of set for life. But I would definitely say that that's where my interest in personal finance stems from. But another huge thing, in addition to my family also being very financially literate, is just kind of like the city that I was raised in. I know that maybe there's a lot of people that don't have similar experiences, but I come from a place, like I grew up in a city and I went to university that is very East and South Asian. So if you know any East and South Asian people, or you know of any kind of like stereotypes, it's like, not to generalize, of course there's exceptions, but financial literacy is a very core part of East and South Asian culture.
Yeah.
And so growing up in a city where they were very just educated, like very career, academics, and money focused and driven, it was kind of abnormal to not know, or kind of abnormal to like not be interested in that. So for better or for worse, I definitely feel like just I was already surrounded by that. So it was kind of like just common knowledge to have to know, basically.
Yeah.
There's, kind of a lot of other issues with like the competitiveness and all that other stuff that I talked about. But yeah, for the most part, I would say that that is definitely a really big part of the culture that I'm from.
Well, that's such a great environment to grow up in, though, because I know people in my own personal life who parents like did not teach them anything about money, how to save. I mean, I'll even my little boyfriend, he and I
Yeah.
have very different views on money. I mean, his situation, I think he grew up a little bit more well off than my family did, and my mom, because we were, you know, like a bit poor growing up, it was very
Yeah.
much like teaching me how to save and like we gotta save our money for a rainy day. And so I took those things as I grew up and into, I still don't feel like I'm an adult, but as an adult, and
Hmm.
he calls me a squirrel because I'm like always saving my nuts for the winter. And for him, he's like constantly wanting to spend. And he's like, how do you do that? Like,
Yeah.
how do you not want to go buy things? I'm like, because I just like, I feel weird spending money. But also, you talked
Oh
about
my
that
gosh.
too when we had our little
Yeah.
meeting and how you have this weird relationship with money and spending and like being frugal. Can you talk about a bit about that?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's pretty much what you just mentioned is like even though my family we were like pretty average financially, for some reason my dad always had this thing where he's still like that. Like he's very dramatic, so he'll kind of blow things out of proportion and make it seem like everything is like the biggest thing ever. So growing up, my brother and I kind of like felt like we had to be anxious about money because he'd make it seem like he'd say all these things. And looking back, I'm like, I don't know what he meant by that, but I have a very vivid memory of him saying we had $300 in our bank account. And I'm like 10 years old going to school stressed on the school bus
Oh my
because I'm like,
gosh.
oh my God, I'm like, I have to worry about my whole family now. And my mom also, she's like a spender too. And it wasn't like we were rich or anything, but she was low-key a little bit of a shopaholic. So she kind of buy random little things that were on sale, even though we never
Yeah.
needed it. And it kind of made me feel a little bit like, like a tiny bit resentful towards my mom because I'm like, why is she spending all our money and we only have $300 in the bank account? Like, what's gonna happen to us? So
Oh my gosh.
yeah,
Not you being like your little family money manager. You're like, Mom, do we really need that right now? That is
literally,
crazy.
I know, yeah, and it wasn't just me, it was my brother, so I know it was not just like a me thing I made up. It was like
Yeah.
definitely something that my parents did in the way that they talked about money. So I think, if I have kids, I definitely do not want them to be part of those conversations. But pretty much just what you said, like feeling guilty about spending money, feeling like I have a
Hmm.
weird relationship with money, feeling like I'm always trying to hit these big goals and then moving the goalposts and then constantly being stressed about it. So that's something I was actually really inspired about your story where you said like um about work and stuff and how you kind of reconsidered what your values and your priorities were, because that's something that I'm really struggling with is like
Yeah.
I hate my job, but I'm like I feel this weird attachment to needing this paycheck, even though I technically don't need it.
Yeah.
So even after posting that video that you saw, I've gotten so many comments. People are like, really think about why you're doing this and, what matters and, your mental health comes first. So,
Yeah. I mean, that's such a prevalent thing that I'm hearing from a lot of people our age is they're burnt out. And I'm like, we're way too young to
oh
be
my God.
burnt out and like hating our lives because of our jobs. Like that just is trash. And so I don't know. I think there's a lot of pressure, at least for me and in my 20s, is like the pressure to be successful and
Yeah.
like really have your life together. I
Yeah.
get two conflicting sides. Like I have some people who are like, "Hey, your 20s is the time for you to live your life and enjoy things." But then I
Hmm.
have the other side where like, "No, I wish if I were in my 20s, I would have started earlier and I would have like put down roots and invested in these things and you need to take your time more seriously." I'm like, "Okay, which way do I go? Like what is happening?" I
Yeah.
don't know where to go. So I don't know if that's your experience too, but I
100%.
struggle with that so much.
Yeah, I see that a lot. That is exactly what you said. Like, do I start now or, oh, but what if we could die? What if we die tomorrow? Like, I get that comment a lot. That's like, well, either you save now and start investing now and really kind of build up your savings while you're young, and then that can help you compound in the future, versus like, what if we literally die tomorrow? And I'm like, okay, I don't really know how to deal with that, but um, yeah, I'm kind of curious what your take, like, what are you leaning towards if you
That's
had
a
one?
really good question. Man. So I've talked a lot about my journey, how I started this podcast. I was literally so burnt out, depressed, and a major anxious girly. So
Mm-hmm.
it really got to a bad point where I was like, my quality of life is absolute shit. and something needs to change. So right now, I would say I'm in the phase where I'm trying to find the balance. Like, I don't want to get to that point again where I'm at absolute rock bottom and I've just sacrificed so much of my time, energy, mental health so that I can climb the ladder, whatever it is I'm doing. But at the same time, I want to achieve a lot. Like, hold on, let me gather my thoughts. That's not sounding how I want it to. So recently, I talked about this in my last solo episode, but I've stepped into my little entrepreneurship era with my boyfriend, and we've been working on this probably for the past 8 months, where we're trying to acquire our own business. And yeah,
Oh my God,
it's so,
congrats.
thank you. It's so weird saying out loud because I'm very much the type to kind of work in silence. Like, I don't want to tell people I'm doing something unless I actually succeed at it, which that's probably have some issues underlying there. But I'm very much a perfectionist. Like,
That's fair.
I don't want to tell people that I'm going to do something and like I absolutely fail. But at the same time, like, literally my podcast is bare and brutal. Like, I should be vulnerable. So anyways, all that to say is we have been working really hard to acquire our own business, not create from scratch. We're trying to basically, the baby boomer era, they're looking to retire now, and they have built up these businesses that have been existing for like 35 plus years. And so
like
our
a
thing
physical,
is like
a
and it can be physical. There's like online businesses, but our target people are like those who are looking to retire. They've had businesses 35 plus years, and maybe because they've been in the business so long, they're not very technologically skilled or advanced, like obviously our generation, we got TikTok, we got marketing,
you don't
all
need
that
to sugarcoat
stuff.
it. They suck. That's right.
They're like, they don't know how to switch between tabs and shit. Like, so
that's right. They don't know the up button. They're like going like this on their screen, trying to move things around.
So what my boyfriend and I were thinking, we're like, hey, that's like what we could bring to the table. I mean, not taking away anything. Like, we want to honor the fact that you put in your blood, sweat, tears to build up this baby, this business of yours. But here's how we can take that legacy and like grow it even more with our skills of working with marketing and like computers, automation, all that stuff. And so to answer your question, I mean, going into this entrepreneurship era, like, entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Like, you have to be a go-getter. Like, you have to put in the hours and be willing to make sacrifices. And so I'm stuck too. I'm so conflicted. I'm glad we're talking about this because I'm like processing out loud right now.
Yeah, I love that. I'd love to help you through this.
I struggle so much with like, life is short. Like, I really want to enjoy this time. I'm not going to be as young. I'm not going to have as many opportunities to like travel and have this kind of free time now that I do versus like when I'm, I don't know, 40, 50. But at the same time, it's like, this is go time. Like, I have to put in the hard work if we want to get to where we want to. And so, I don't know. I think it's like finding that balance is so hard. Like, I think it's important for you to pour into yourself and realize, okay, what are your values? Like, why am I doing this? I think this is a bit different than me working my ass off for someone in corporate America or like teaching and not being valued for it, because at least I'm working towards something that's for myself. And like, it's genuinely something where I'm like, okay, ultimately, if I'm honest, why do we want to do this? We want freedom. Like, we want freedom of time. We want financial freedom. Like, I want to be able to take, I don't know, 6 months out of the year to go on vacation and travel the world while also making income and, not ending up living under a bridge. So, like, ultimately, that's what I want, because, like, I guess that's what I value. I value a life where I want to live it fully. And in order to have that life, you need money. And there's so many more ways I'm discovering now to make money that aren't just 9 to 5, that kind of route. And so I don't know if that even answers the question, but that's where I'm at.
No, it did. Yeah, absolutely, it did. I I'm curious, like, what are the other kind of sources of income you're pursuing? Or I'm assuming that's, something that you want to do also with your podcast, or do you think that that's something possible to grow with your
Yes.
podcast?
So right now, initially when I started this podcast, I didn't think it was anything. And I kind of still struggle in being confident in what I'm doing because, like, low key,
Mm-hmm.
I get embarrassed sometimes, like reposting my videos for my
Your
podcast
own.
on my main page because I'm like,
Oh,
oh,
okay,
like
yeah.
it's kind of
Oh,
cringy.
girl, I feel you. No, I feel you. I feel you.
Yeah, but I'm working on it. Like, I do think that this is a really great platform that I'm growing, and it's something really important. And I feel like it could tie
Mm-hmm.
into whatever business I acquire too. Like, I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the process of building a personal brand with the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that I'm just starting out. I'm only at 700 followers, like, but I
Mm-hmm.
have made so many connections with people, and
Yeah.
that honestly, like, in business, connections are everything, like networking. And so I can see this podcast integrating in my business and almost acting as a funnel to whatever,
100%.
venture I go into. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's the big goal. Like, I want this sounds like delusional, but I really want this podcast to blow up.
Just
Like,
say it, girl. Say it. Manifest it.
I want like
Speak it
1.5
into the.
million
Mm-hmm.
followers. Like, I
Oh
want
my
to
God. Yeah.
get like big ass famous entrepreneurs on this show, hear their stories, like, and make
Mm-hmm.
business deals, like my wildest dreams. So
Yeah.
yeah. What about you though?
Okay.
Like,
Period.
where do you see your account going? Like, what's the big delusional dream for you?
I mean, same thing as you, obviously. Like, I think there's a big side of it that is like kind of like the making money and additional source of income, but also just um putting myself out there. Like, I love the idea of someone. This is so egotistical to say, but I love the idea of people just like being interested and in the things you're doing and having a
Yeah.
community. Like, even on my account, not only do I post stuff that is just like tips and advice, but I ask questions. I'm like crying on there being like, can you guys give
Yeah.
me advice on like what to say to my manager? And hundreds of people will comment giving me advice, so I definitely love that aspect of it too. So pretty much what you said, 1.5 million followers, make a living off of it. We're going to speak it into existence. But
Yes.
I love that plan. And I think you can definitely do it. I think you can absolutely achieve it. I think you're already doing really great things. And like I said before, you've already inspired me so much in like the
Aw.
podcasting, like side of things. Like I said, I've always also wanted to do a podcast too.
Yeah.
And it kind of just felt like this big thing that was like, oh, you need all this equipment, you need like people, like a team. And just seeing you do it and succeed and thrive has really inspired me. And also, I just didn't even know that you could just message people and they'd be like, oh yeah, let me just come on and like, talk to you and hang out. And yeah, it works. So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
God.
thank you so much. But I also felt the same thing. I was like, how am I supposed to get guests on here? I was having friends on, which love my friends, but
Mm-hmm.
online I was like, how are people getting guests? And I literally just
Yeah.
went and started messaging people, and I was like, hi, would you like to be a guest on my show? And yeah, I got lots of rejections, but also really more oftentimes people being like, yeah, for sure, like, I don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because people, honestly, they want to talk about themselves. Like, it's a
Okay.
win-win,
Clock me.
like, you get
Yeah.
you get exposure and you get to tell your story, and like, people love yapping, and so I'm here for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and I also wanted to say that I relate so much to the thing you said about not kind of being embarrassed about posting your own stuff on your personals. Like, I on my Room Fees account, I blocked almost every single person I know. Like, I went into my
Oh my
personal
god.
following and followers and I like blocked all of them because I didn't want them to see the stuff on their pop up on their For You page. But
Yeah.
people are still finding me. Like, my friend's fiance or like some other guy that I
Oh
knew from high
shit.
school like messaging me and liking my stuff. I blocked everyone. I didn't realize I had to account for their fiancés as well. So definitely still a little bit awkward for me, but
Yeah.
that's, the cost of putting yourself out there.
I know. You just kind of got to get over it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still in that process. Like, this is what I'm doing. If you like it, you think it's cringy, like, whatever. I'm still gonna do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, you're already, better than anyone that, wants to and hasn't started. And you have a great show, so nothing really to be ashamed of or
Well,
embarrassed
thank
about. So,
you. Thank you.
yeah.
So I am really curious, and I don't know if like you want to talk about it, but I would love to know how
Mhm.
you navigated acquiring a rental property on top of a six-figure net worth as a 24-year-old. Like, what the fuck did you do,
Yeah.
sis? Because I need to know the secrets.
Yeah,
Like, and
absolutely.
I think
Yeah.
my audience would also like to know how you got here.
Yeah, so of course I can tell you a little bit about my background, and I can also tell you a little bit about kind of the hacks or the loopholes to getting there. And so just a little bit about my background. Like I said, this, the city that I grew up in, everyone is kind of doing the same things. That's kind of the first thing, is
Yeah.
it is not extraordinary. It is like the norm. Like, if you only knew, I knew like 7 other people my age that also
Damn.
had properties. I know like 3 people my age that are like house owners.
So what you're saying
And
is
where
I
I
need
live,
to move. Like Texas is not the place. I need to move.
I feel like Texas, that could be one thing culturally, but in, all seriousness, probably Texas is better than where I live, because where I live right now, houses are like, I live in the Greater Toronto area, houses are like
Mhm.
$1 million to 2 million. So when I say people are house owners, they literally have $1 million houses. So that's kind of the insane part. My
Oh
condo
my
is
God.
definitely like not close to that, but yeah, I just know a lot of people that are like that. And we can talk a little bit about this later, but I know you're joking about the moving, but I feel like I would not want to raise my kids here, is something
Oh,
that I'll
okay.
say about the culture.
Okay. I
But
appreciate the
yeah, so it's a good
honesty.
thing you're not here, actually. Yeah, honestly. But yeah, just kind of how I saved money. I was always able to work multiple jobs, like ever since. So I've always worked multiple jobs all through university, and then especially when things became remote, I was able to work 2 jobs like the way that I do now without too much of a strain. I also went to a university that heavily focused on internships. So in Canada, we call it like co-op. So I was in a co-op program where I did like 5 internships, and that guaranteed that you were able to advance your salary every single term that you did an internship. And that's actually one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give students, is do internships if you're able to. Even if you're graduated, there's still a lot of programs for
Oh,
postgrads, and there's still a lot of internship programs out there. And that is something that guarantees that not only do you advance your career, but that you're able to save a significant amount. Because when I was doing like part-time administrative work as a student, I was probably making like $16 an hour. And then when I was doing internships every single term that I advanced, I was starting to make like 20 something, $30. And
wow.
that's probably something that I'd never be able to do with internship experience. And it did really help me get experience for my full-time job. So that's something people ask me a lot too, is like, how do you get into, break into the workforce or get into the corporate world or get a job in your field? It's honestly, I pretty much already had experience with the internships, and that's something that really helped me,
Yeah.
secure a job. But yeah, I just kind of took advantage of everything else that was available to me financially. So I was already investing at that point. I also had student loans, I had student grants, I had scholarships, and that's something that also helped me pay my way through university.
Mhm.
Um, that's kind of the ethical side of it. So that's kind of like the background and me saving money. I actually have a video on my page, and I don't know if I should promote this. People actually told me to take it down because it's kind of promoting something slightly unethical. But there are kind of like loopholes that, I don't know if this works in the US, but it definitely works in Canada. Maybe I shouldn't say too much on this podcast about like the actual how to do it. But there's kind of ways to kind of, you know, qualify for mortgages and
Mhm.
things like that. I will say though, I didn't go with that method because I just had enough like saved, and I had enough on my income for that year.
Mhm.
But there are ways for people to get around that. So
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
I
I'm being very,
actually
bare and brutally honest right now. Just kind of putting
No,
myself out there and at risk.
I totally get that. There's actually, because before our plan to go into entrepreneurship and acquire business, we were actually looking into real estate, and that's
Oh
why
yeah.
we ended up moving back home with his parents, because we were
Hmm.
gonna save money to get a down payment, and
Yeah.
there are certainly ways in Texas where you can get away with going around certain things.
Oh
Just
girl,
do
not
y'all's
you knowing some
research,
things too.
okay? Do y'all's
Yeah, period.
research.
Literally, just do the research. It might not be on a website, but it's probably on Reddit. So go check Reddit. How to inflate my income, how to qualify for mortgage. That's all we're
Yeah,
gonna say.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
moving on though, I would like to hear some of your trial and error experiences, because you told me some on our little meeting before this, but You told me how you did some get rich quick schemes and like you learned your lessons. I would love to hear about those. What did you learn? What lessons did you learn? How can my listeners
Yes.
avoid getting into those again?
Oh my God. There's probably not even ways to avoid them because no one will ever be as dumb as I am. Like, I'm just gonna say, yeah, we don't have to talk about it too much, but I will just say I definitely played around with day trading. I played around with
Oh,
penny stocks. I played around with crypto.
oh my gosh.
This is that's kind of one lesson of being a hardworking lazy girl is the lazy part and trying to do things quickly. So, not to say that there aren't exceptions and that people get successful doing those things, but for me personally, it is just, yeah, it was just not for me. So, I don't think there's too much of a lesson. It's literally just like, don't do what I did. And I think it's good to experiment and to learn, but
Mhm.
start out with smaller amounts, is all I'm going to say. Yeah.
So I've had people like from high school like reach out to me and be like, "Hi, join my group. We're trading
Is
like
that legit?
I don't know." Like I it's like a trend. Like people join like forex groups or something and like they learn how to trade. I don't know. So my boyfriend, this is okay, it sounds like we're involved in everything. We're not. But he wanted to
Yeah.
be a day trader. And for the
Okay.
longest, he was working on like creating algorithms so that he can trade or whatever.
Okay.
And when I would tell
Yeah.
him that there's, oh my gosh, like so and so messaged me on Instagram and was like, hey, join my group. Like I made this much. And they literally put a screenshot of like their bank account. And I'm like, is this real?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, yeah, I wouldn't trust those people. So I don't
I
know.
wouldn't either.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't either. I haven't had too many like forex kind of like scams or like culture around where I live, but I've definitely seen that online. That is like there's a little bit of a thing going on there. I'm not entirely sure
It's a
what
little scammy.
the
It's like
play
it's
is.
giving like MLM
Yeah,
kind
it is giving
of.
MLM. I didn't want to be the one to say it, but I'm glad you did. Yeah, it is giving
Yeah.
MLM.
So how
Yeah,
do
well, I'm
you
glad you didn't go for it.
yeah, I'm glad too. I know you work multiple jobs.
Hmm.
How did you how do you manage your time? Like that's you work on the weekends too, right? Like how are you
Yeah, I
surviving right
do.
now?
No, that's a great question. I don't know if you've seen my video where I show a day in the life of one of the most chill days, but essentially the way that I balance two jobs is that they both have to be remote. Like I would not be doing two jobs if neither one of them were not remote. I see people
Yeah.
doing in-person jobs and they have to kind of commute. They're taking naps at their shift in their workplace.
Oh
I get
shoot.
to take my nap in my bed. Like especially on the weekends, especially when it comes to call center jobs, like in evenings and weekends, it gets less busy as the week goes on. So Sundays, sometimes it's like an 8-hour shift and I would legit get like 5 calls. So
Mhm.
I'll be very transparent about that. Like sometimes it's not hard work and I don't know, it might be different for you because, you're in education and you're kind of dealing with people, but even in corporate, like desk jobs, like every single desk job I've had, I would say there was a good amount of kind of downtime.
Mhm.
So out of maybe like 10 jobs I've had, at least 7 of them were pretty chill. Like it wasn't like 5-10 hour weeks, but most of
Yeah.
them were at least like, you know, 20, 25, 30 hour weeks. So you get a good amount of time where you're kind of just chilling and you get to play on your phone and you get to lie down and hang out with your family and take showers and stuff like that. So I definitely think that that is the main thing is just the fact that I actually might not be working for a lot of the times that I
Okay.
should be. But actually, that's another thing. Sorry, let me just clarify that real quick because it sounds like I'm like a really lazy slacker, but in reality, most companies know that. Like my managers will say they work in their bed. My managers will say that they're like, have
Yeah.
time to go to the grocery store and things like that. So it's definitely kind of, I think that's where the kind of corporate America is kind of shifting towards is that
Yeah.
they're more accepting of like work-life balance. And that is the nature of remote work is that you get people to work from home so they get the benefits of working from home. It wouldn't really make sense if you're having people work from home but you still want them glued to their desk
Yeah.
40 hours a week. So I don't know
Yeah.
if I kind of went off topic there, but maybe to give you a bit more like a wholesome answer, I have hobbies, I have friends, I like to balance my time. And after work, when I have days off, I like to, really pack up those days with the things that I like to do. and get my mind off the work.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the wholesome and non-wholesome answer. I totally get what you're saying though with the naps in between, because when I was still teaching, my boyfriend had his remote job, and I would literally, I had so much resentment because as I'm getting ready to leave for work, he's literally knocked out on the beanbag, and I'm like, okay, let me just go to my job. And then he'll literally just take a nap in between his meetings, go for a run, and I'm over here like trying to gobble down my lunch in like 2 minutes at work. But yeah, so I definitely think like ever since COVID happened, this shift into like remote work, it's probably like the best thing that's come out of out of that era, is because there's so many opportunity now. Like we proved, you can work from home. Like we don't got to go in office. So
we did, I'm a huge advocate for workplace transparency. I think that's I've talked a little bit about that on my account before, and I think we talk a lot more about like pay and salary transparency nowadays. But what we really don't talk about is workload, because a lot of the time people are going to be at their computer fake typing away at the same Excel spreadsheet they've been typing away at for the past 3 hours, switching their screens when someone walks up behind them, when it's in reality the same as it was in office. Like you're just not doing as much in office as you are at home, except you're faking it at work. And I think that we all kind of need to decrease the pressure surrounding like workload and how much we're actually getting done and what productivity is and what productivity means. So
that's actually such a good point.
What does your boyfriend do?
He is
go on.
Oh no, you're good. I'll answer that first. He is a data architect for I don't know if I'm allowed to say. It's for a company. Well, actually, he doesn't. It was for the butter company, Land O'Lakes. I don't know if you.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. I think they got canceled because their like logo was of a Native American Indian, and like it was like really racist.
I didn't know that.
But yeah, he wasn't part of that. He was just like back end, you know.
No, of course not.
Platform
Imagine he was the guy behind it.
So don't come for him. Like he didn't have anything to do with that.
No. Yeah.
But what you were saying earlier about productivity and how like realistically everything we do at home or working from home is what we did at work too. Like I remember I typically got 2 off periods as a teacher. One was supposed to be like for meetings with the team, and then the other one was like my planning period, like grading, planning lessons. But there were times where I literally would turn off all the lights in my classroom and just take a nap in my classroom because I was so tired. And I was like, oh, I did all my stuff already. Like I'm just take a nap right here. Yeah. So
that's so funny.
I think the huge argument like people make is like, oh, well, you know, you go into work and you get more socialization, and I don't know. I'm like, I can go see my friends. No. Like,
dude, oh my God, I hear that so much where like I show videos of me working from home. People comment the most like outlandish, like they're just trying to hate for the sake of hating. So they'll say things like, oh my God, that's so like, you know, sedentary. You're sitting still all day. You need to get out of bed. It's like, I am able to go for a walk or go to the gym way more easily than if I were in an office. So people will be like, oh, you're not socializing. People will be like, I'm like suicidal. I like that. If I were to work from home like that would make me KMS if I were you and stuff. And it's like, I have friends though, you know, like if you need to talk to your coworkers to socialize, it's like, I'm good. I call my friends while I'm at work. I hang out with my family. Like I'm actually way better than going into office socially. So
there were days I literally did not see the sun for like 8 hours in the school. I'm lucky that my classroom had a window, but there are some classrooms that didn't even have windows. Like I would.
Is that allowed?
Like to not have windows in your classrooms?
Yeah, because like I know in Canada at least, like a house, if you have a room, you can't rent it out. It's considered like a den, or you know what I mean? Like there's like legal issues with like windows and.
Interesting. Well, yeah, we had classrooms that didn't have windows. Like, and that's kids would be like, my students would be like, yeah, it's like a prison. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, I couldn't even say anything because It really is. Like, it literally cinder block rooms, like it's the lights are shining, it's super bright, and yeah. But
well,
I'm out now,
I know.
so
You're out. That's what I was gonna
yeah.
say. At least there's that. Gosh, do you think you'd ever go back?
That's a really good question. Whenever I quit, I was really sad. Like, I went through this whole mourning period. Like, I was really sad about it because I really loved my students and I really loved like the relationships that I got to build, but hated everything else about it. Like, if I could just go to work and like focus on actually being a teacher and like conversing with my students and teaching them things, then I totally would have been able to be in that job for like 20 plus years. But teachers wear so many different hats. Like, I was not just a teacher, I was also a therapist. I was also like freaking managing behavior and like figuring out how to like, I was a freaking electrician. Like, there were just so many different hats I was wearing. And so if like, I would only go back if the system improved, and like realistically the system's broken, at least education in America. And I had to realize like there's nothing I can do to fix this. Like, I kind of had this whole self-sacrificial type methodology where I was like, oh well, like if I'm not doing it, like someone has to do it, so I'll be the one to be here for these kids. Like, which is so dumb because like I was just a number. I was just another number in the crowd, and they're honestly, this is maybe a cynical point of view, but like, me as one person, I couldn't have changed the system, unfortunately. And it's gonna take some real change to actually have a better education system. And I'm not sure that in my lifetime I will see that. So I think my answer right now is no, but who knows? I still have a passion for it, but my thing is like, there are other ways for me to get that fill, like to build relationships with kids and like help people. And that's certainly something I'm learning with like entrepreneurship, is because I guess I used to think like I was doing the good deeds by being in a like not taking good pay and doing this good work, but my boyfriend was like, well, you could literally work at a really good company, get paid an actual living wage and more, and do more with your money and your time. Like, if I really wanted to help kids, right? Like, I could be making money, taking that time, volunteering, like, so yeah, I don't know. I think I struggled with having like a mindset where I didn't think making more money was possible for me. Like, I thought that this was just it. And that's partly how I grew up too. Like, because we didn't grow up with a lot of money, I think we valued security a lot. Like, for my mom, it was really ingrained in me, like, oh, you know, I never got a college education. I want all my kids to go to college. Having a degree was like the golden ticket. And once you get your degree, you really want to find a good job and stay in it and work in it until you retire. And nowadays, like, I don't know if this experience is something you can relate to, because I know you said your environment was a little different, but I think Asian parents, they see one path to success. Like, their view is very like, get an education, get a job,
100%.
like be a lawyer, doctor, whatever, the whole stereotypes, and that's success. But they can't see anything else. And when you say like, oh, I'm gonna make videos online and I'm gonna make money off of it, they're like, what? What?
Who's saying, is that a scam?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm curious, what do your parents actually think about? Do they know about your content creation? Like, what's their opinions?
They do. They are supportive of content creation, and they My mom's actually both my parents are pretty chronically online, but not in like the good ways, not in the young people ways. They're like chronically online for boomers. So it's like Facebook and these other Asian apps. My dad gets into fights with people on YouTube and stuff. But yeah, like they definitely understand making money from content creation. So I think that helps a lot. But they do still think like some aspects of it are a scam. They're like, why on earth do people watch you? I'm like, oh my God, I've almost hit like 1 million views on my like day in the life. My mom would be like, I don't get why people would want to watch that. Like I literally, and I'm like, I don't get it either. I don't know, to be honest. But same thing as you, like the, one path. I think for them, they see everything else as like a supplement. They're like, oh, content creation is great, but obviously don't, quit your day job or whatever type of thing. So they also really try to push me towards kind of STEM studies and STEM career. And like I said, people in my city are very smart. Everyone's very talented. Everyone's very career and money focused. And so a lot of people here where I grew up in my city and then the city that I attended university at were very STEM focused as well. So I have a humanities degree. I definitely don't fit in with that. And even then, I still felt kind of like inferior. Like I definitely felt like I was falling behind in some ways. And I also kind of same thing as you. Like I didn't really even know what the cap was for jobs in my field until I really got out there. And like that was another big thing for me was doing the internships. Like I said, like that really gave me a window, showed me what was possible in this field in terms of pay. So without that, I 100% like my parents were like, I think the most that I could make is probably close to minimum wage is kind of what their expectation was for me. But yeah, I also wanted to comment on what you had said earlier with I think it's really great that you saw, sorry, this is kind of, unrelated to what I just said, but I wanted to respond that I think it's really great that as a teacher and educator, you were really focused on, student experiences and your relationships. And I definitely had a lot of teachers growing up that saw it just as like, some teachers will go into it because they like to feel powerful and, all this stuff, but it's really great that you had that mindset.
Thank you. I want to hear how you like navigated that feeling of being inferior to your peers. Like I think that's definitely something that I and a lot of people in your 20s too, we deal with comparison, right? So how was that like how did you get over it? Like have you gotten over it? Is it something you still struggle like comparing yourself to people around you?
Yeah. Oh, great question. I definitely still feel like I have that sense of comparison. And like growing up, like I said, my dad is pretty educated and so is my brother. Like I work in marketing. Not to sell myself short because people love to say that. It's like, oh, not you, you're only a student or you're only in marketing. You are in marketing. And I'm like, I am only in marketing. Like I'm going to be so for real with you right now. Like I'm not that smart. I don't have to be smart to be in marketing. I have a degree in like sociology. My brother is in STEM. He currently is like a software developer. He was an engineer. He worked at Apple. Everyone was very proud of him. Even in my own family, it definitely feels kind of like there's also that sense of comparison, even though my parents, like my mom especially, she's pretty intentional about parenting. And that I would say is one of the major things that helped me in an Asian household. It's pretty unheard of for Asian parents to kind of come into parenting with that intentional mindset. So like all the stuff that you see online on TikTok about like gentle parenting, my mom was doing that like 20 years ago. She used to go to classes and all that stuff.
I know, right?
I know, yeah. Yeah, my mom, she's a queen. And so she used to always be very purposeful about not comparing my brother and I. And if I was not a good student when I was in elementary school. Like that's another great thing that kind of relates back to the teacher thing is I had one teacher that really believed in me and that changed like the trajectory of probably my entire life. But I used to not do well in school at all. And my mom never really focused too much on it. She would just be like, did you try your best? And I'd say yes. And she's like, okay, that's kind of it. But she was worried. Like she's also a very anxious person. So she was always worried about my future, but she tried her very best not to show it. So that's my family. But I would say in terms of my city and my school, my university, the friends that I had, like my core friend group, I would say I also got very lucky. Like I'm still very close friends with a lot of the people that I grew up with. And it really helped that a lot of them, first of all, coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, because that's how our personalities are compatible, we're not in STEM. So we're all kind of like idiots. So that's kind of how we get along. Yeah. And the second thing is, and I think this is kind of more of a choice in the culture we fostered in our friend group, is that none of them are competitive. So I feel like, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I can see friend groups where you kind of get this vibe that, like, you know, they don't talk about certain things. They don't talk about money, or when they do, there's kind of like a tension there, or you can see, kind of people reaching certain milestones and kind of checking things off, like, you know, it's just what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
My friend group is very much like go with the flow, and no one really has a plan, and everyone's like, you know, oh, when do you think, you know, just even like the basic conversations about adulthood is like, when do you want to get married? When do you have kids? Everyone's like, I don't know. I don't know. Don't ask me about this. I don't want to know anything. And then even like money, like we're very transparent about that. We talk exactly about how much we make. If someone gets a raise, we are very happy for each other.
Yeah.
We don't really have any of that, like, you know, I don't think that a lot of people have that or anything, but it's just, I'm also very lucky that my friend group is one of the groups that don't have that. So I definitely feel like we help each other through that a lot throughout our teenhood and into our adulthood.
Yeah, I think sometimes, at least my friend group, I am also really lucky to have really great friends and support around me. But I feel like there's sometimes a little gatekeeping that happens with like people's success. Like, not in my friend group, but I mean in general. Like, I would say people like acquaintances, like people you knew in high school or like in college.
Do I know where this conversation's going?
Probably. So I don't know. My thing is like, just like how you're describing your friend group, like, I want you to win. Like, if you win, we're all winning. And literally in my freaking agenda that I send to you, it's like there's a quote on there about collaboration and how like that's my whole thing. I'm like, I don't want this to be a competition. Like, I don't want it to be a zero-sum game where one person's at the top and like the rest of you are losers. Like, I want us to collaborate, and if I can do anything to help you succeed, like, I don't really think I know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna be there to share what I can. And I think it's just such weird energy to me when I come in contact with people who like aren't wanting to share. And it's not like I'm wanting to like take your freaking money from you. I just want to know, like, hey, I'm curious. But have you ever had any experiences like that? Come into contact with people, gatekeepers?
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. There's I wouldn't say that there's a lot of gatekeepers in content creation, period, like in the realm of, you know, the people that I like, the community that I know online. We're going to get to your question in a second, because I know you know what I'm about to say. But first, starting off with content creation, I definitely think there's a lot of really great creators in this space and in the personal finance space, and I think that's kind of what makes it. It's just a lot of regular people being very transparent about their finances and what they're making from social media and their corporate jobs and things like that. So that is definitely something that has helped inspire me into content creation and kind of propel me forward, and how like my account has evolved. But to answer your question, in real life, there have definitely been a lot of gatekeepers. And like I said, again, I wouldn't say that that's the average. I think most people you encounter are very helpful and want to support you and help you in any way they can. Like, but I think money is a sensitive topic for a lot of people. So I think when you kind of ask them about opportunities and, you know, what they're doing exactly, I don't think it comes from a place where they don't want you to have it. I'm assuming people just feel uncomfortable because they've been conditioned to think talking about money or talking about opportunities related to money are uncomfortable and should be kept private and secret. So we talked a bit about this in the meeting, and I was, you know, I know a few people that do UGC, user generated content, and I was kind of curious, and oh my god, should I even talk about this? Because what if they see it? Because it's so specific. Wait, let me just try to be a little bit more vague. But I wanted to ask, yeah, exactly. I wanted to ask about an opportunity and kind of a, you know, a project. And a lot of the times, the answers that I am getting are kind of just, you know, you can kind of get the sense that people aren't really open to sharing too much about themselves and their opportunities. And yeah. I'm
No,
trying to think of like what I should say and how much I can share. I feel like it's pretty specific
no,
these
you're
stories.
good. I totally get it though. Like, I think sometimes though, it's also like a scarcity mindset. Like, if I,
Oh my God, yes.
if I share these things and like maybe they
Yeah.
felt lucky that they got onto the opportunity, right? And if they share these things
Mm-hmm.
and what's going to be left for me? So I don't
Yeah.
judge. Like, I mean, I was judging, but I don't fault people
We're allowed to judge a little.
for like not for holding their cards a bit close to their chest. Like, I totally get it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
me neither. I think they just think that that's kind of what you're supposed to do. And same with the scarcity mindset thing. I've been thinking about that a lot lately. And that's definitely something that I want to be like so clear about in content creation. A lot of people don't realize that too, is like influencer marketing and content, opportunities and content are only like on the rise, especially with small businesses kind of being more acclimated to how successful digital marketing can be. They've definitely, like a lot of small businesses compared to what they were 10 years ago, have opened themselves up to influencer marketing and things like that. So there's just so many opportunities. There's really no need to gatekeep at all. But yeah, like you said, they just think that I give you one, then it's one less for me.
Yeah. So I'm curious, it's probably one of our last questions, but what are your future goals for your account and just content creation in general and your financial journey?
Yeah, so my goals for my account, as we mentioned earlier, manifesting millions of followers, manifesting an amazing supportive community, and something that ultimately allows me to be financially free and work flexible and work optional, which once again kind of feels awkward to say out loud because, I kind of want to just be very, I want to put out content because I have a passion for putting out content, but
Yeah.
that is totally one of the reasons. I would love to make a living off of this stuff. Oh my
Yeah.
God. But yeah, just kind of also in the process being able to spread a positive message and helping completely average people like myself get into a better financial position and building an amazing community at the same time. Oh, and then also, sorry, to answer your question also about the finance goals, to retire early. That is my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What age would you determine is early?
I think anything younger than 60, but I would say for myself, I would love to retire at like 30, 35.
Yeah.
What about
That
you?
sounds amazing. Same here. I want to retire by like 35. That'd be great. My mom, gosh, I wish I could retire my mom early too. That's like a goal of mine because she's a flight attendant for American, which is great. Like, that was one of her dreams, to become a flight attendant. But she's like 56 now and still going up and down on the plane and like doing this for 20 plus years. Like, that's hard on your body. So not only me retiring early, but like I really hope to also retire my mom, because girl has been working forever and she needs a break. She deserves a break.
Yeah, I'm praying for that for you too. And I don't know what type of family structure you come from, but I know a lot of Asian and a lot of ethnic families, not only do you have your parents to worry about, you have like your extended family too.
Yeah. Well, the last thing I just want to ask you is, what is a key message or takeaway that you would like the listeners to gain from your story and just your experiences in general?
I think the key takeaway probably, I think something that I really want everyone to, sorry, let me try to think of a better way to say this.
Take your time, sis.
Okay, yeah. It could be 10 minutes. We just cut this right out. Yeah, but I think a key message that I want everyone to, oh my God, I don't want to be so fake deep and be like, I want to think about, but yeah, I think a key message of my content is really just to not take yourself too seriously and to just go for things, and kind of just the whole mantra of being hardworking and lazy and kind of just basically doing the things you need to do, but not having to do them perfectly or kind of conform to what you think things have to be done in the way that they have to be done. So, work your 2 jobs, but do it in bed. Don't feel like you have to kind of, shoot for the highest
Right.
type of thing. And I think one also really important thing is just go for things. That's kind of how I've achieved most of the things that I've gotten, is kind of not being confident that I would be able to achieve those goals, but really just going for it. Like you said, starting a podcast, you kind of just woke up one day and you're like, I'm just going to go for it. You get your stuff and you get started and you post. And I think that taking that first step, while you don't have everything put together, is really important.
Yeah, that's such a good message. Really great. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. Before we
Thank you so
go,
much for having me.
is there anything else that you'd like to share with the listeners, or maybe tell them where they can find you to follow your content?
Yes, I am on all platforms at Roomfeast, ROMFIES. I almost forgot how to spell that. I had to look at my own name. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. I really appreciate you having me. That was a really good conversation. Yeah.
Cool. Well, awesome. Thank you again for coming on the show. And for those of you who are listening, if you are also interested in following along with the rest of Jane's story and her financial journey, and seeing videos of her being real and crying over her boss, like, go on Instagram, go give her a follow and show her some love. I will link all of her socials and things in the show notes for you. And this was so much fun. It was fun chatting with you. Thanks, Jane. And to those listening, thanks everyone for listening. And as always, I will talk to you soon. Bye.